The morning sun cast long shadows across the metal wasteland of Cathara Prime. Broken starships and twisted machinery stretched as far as the eye could see. This moon had become a graveyard for old technology, where the galaxy dumped its unwanted junk. Hana pulled her hood lower over her face as she walked between the towering piles of scrap. Her hands were covered in thick gloves, and her body was wrapped in loose clothing that hid her true shape. To anyone watching, she looked like just another worker heading to another day of hard labor. But Hana was not what she seemed. 3 years ago, she had been Empress of the mighty Valerian Empire. Her people had 4 arms and skin that glowed blue in the starlight. They were one of the most powerful races in the galaxy. Now she worked in a scrapyard, hiding from those who wanted her dead. The biopaint on her skin itched constantly. It turned her natural blue color into the pale pink of a human. Special wrappings held her extra arms tight against her body. Every day she had to be careful not to let anyone see what she really was. Hana picked up her tools and walked to her assigned work area. Today she had to break down an old cargo ship. The metal was thick and the work was hard, but it was better than being dead. On the other side of the scrapyard, another figure was already at work. June had been there since before sunrise, as always. The other workers thought he was strange. He was human, which meant most aliens considered him barely smart enough to handle simple tasks. June did not mind what they thought. It made his real work easier. While the others saw a struggling human trying to fix broken machines with basic tools, June was actually studying every piece of alien technology that passed through his hands. His small work area looked messy and unorganized, but everything had a purpose. He had turned an old shipping container into his workspace. To others, it looked like it was full of junk and broken parts. They did not know about the hidden entrance that led to rooms carved deep into the asteroid below. They did not know about the laboratory where he rebuilt alien technology in ways its creators never imagined. June picked up a power coupling from a Valerian ship. The metal was smooth and warm to the touch. Energy flowed through it in patterns that most humans could not understand. But June was not most humans. He had spent years learning how these systems worked. He could see the elegant design, but he could also see its weaknesses. The Valerians built things to last forever, but they never thought about making them better. Humans were different. Humans always wanted to improve things. The morning passed quietly. Hana worked on cutting apart the cargo ship. Her fake human strength meant the work took much longer than it should have. She had to be careful not to lift anything too heavy or move too fast. One mistake could expose her. June tested different components and made notes in a code that looked like random marks. His real research happened at night, down in his hidden laboratory. During the day, he played the part of a simple mechanic. Everything changed when the Imperial Patrol arrived. 3 sleek ships landed at the edge of the scrapyard. Valerian soldiers in black armor stepped out and began walking between the work areas. Their leader carried a scanner that could detect biosignatures from any species. Hana felt her blood turn cold. Imperial patrols had been searching for her for 3 years, but they had never come to Cathara Prime before. Her disguise had worked so far, but the scanners might be able to see through the biopaint. She tried to stay calm and keep working, but her hands began to shake. One of the soldiers was walking toward her area. The scanner in his hand beeped softly as it tested each worker. The soldier stopped near an old engine block that had fallen from a crane earlier that morning. It was massive, easily weighing several tons. It lay across the path, blocking access to the area where Hana was working. "Move this," the soldier ordered, pointing at the engine block. 2 human workers tried to lift it together, but it was too heavy. A 3rd worker joined them, then a 4th. The engine block barely shifted. "Pathetic," the soldier said. "You, Valerian?" "Worker." He pointed directly at Hana. "Move it yourself." Hana's heart pounded. A real Valerian could lift the engine block easily, but if she used her true strength, the scanner would detect the energy patterns in her muscles. If she did not, the soldier would know she was not really Valerian. She was trapped. Hana stepped forward and placed her hands on the engine block. She could feel the soldier's scanner pointed at her. The other workers watched, expecting to see the superior Valerian strength they had heard about. She took a deep breath and began to lift. For a moment, she forgot to hold back her true power. The massive engine block rose into the air like it weighed nothing. The watching humans gasped in amazement. The soldier's scanner began beeping rapidly. Then Hana realized her mistake. She had revealed too much. The scanner was detecting energy levels that did not match her fake identity. In seconds, the soldier would know she was not an ordinary Valerian worker. That was when the explosion happened. A loud boom echoed across the scrapyard as flames and smoke erupted from June's work area. Alarms began wailing. The soldier spun around, his scanner forgotten as he and his squad rushed toward the fire. "Accident with the fuel cell," June called out, waving his hands as he stumbled out of the smoke. "Sorry, everyone. These old human tools are not very good." The Imperial soldiers began barking orders about safety and proper procedures. In the confusion, no one noticed as Hana quietly lowered the engine block back to the ground. The patrol spent an hour investigating the explosion, but they found nothing suspicious. It looked like exactly what June had said it was: a clumsy human making a mistake with dangerous equipment. After the soldiers left, Hana found herself looking across the scrapyard at June. He was cleaning up the mess from his accident, acting like nothing important had happened. But Hana knew better. She had seen him working before. June never made mistakes like that. The explosion had been perfectly timed to save her from discovery. The human had helped her, even though he did not know who she really was. The question was why. As the day ended, and the other workers headed home, Hana made a decision. She walked slowly toward June's work area. He was still there, sorting through damaged parts with careful attention. "Thank you," she said quietly. June looked up at her. His eyes were sharp and intelligent, not at all like the simple mechanic he pretended to be. "For what?" he asked. "You know what?" They stared at each other in the growing darkness. Two people, hiding their true selves in a galaxy that would destroy them if it knew the truth. "Maybe we should talk sometime," June said finally. Hana nodded and walked away, but as she headed back to her small room in the workers' quarters, she could not stop thinking about the human mechanic who had saved her life. Neither of them knew that hidden cameras had recorded everything, or that someone very interested in finding the lost Empress was already studying the footage. The game of hiding was about to become much more dangerous. The next morning came too early for Hana. She had barely slept thinking about the human who had saved her from the Imperial patrol. Every shadow seemed to hide danger. Every sound might be soldiers coming for her. She was cutting metal pipes when June appeared at her workstation. He carried a small toolbox and looked around carefully before speaking. "I need help with something," he said quietly. "Something that requires Valerian knowledge." Hana stopped cutting and looked at him. "I am just a worker." "No, you are not." June's voice was calm but certain. "Just like I am not just a simple mechanic." Other workers were nearby, so Hana could not speak freely, but she nodded slightly. After her shift ended, she would listen to what he had to say. That evening, June led her away from the main scrapyard to an old shipping container that looked abandoned. Rust covered its sides, and the door hung crooked on broken hinges. It looked like it had not been used in years. "This is where you work?" Hana asked. "This is where I pretend to work," June replied. He pressed his hand against a hidden panel near the door. Something clicked, and the rust fell away like paint. The container was actually in perfect condition. Inside, the container looked normal. Old parts and broken machines filled the shelves. Tools hung on the walls. Everything seemed exactly what it should be in a mechanic's workshop. But June walked to the back wall and pressed another hidden switch. The floor opened up, revealing stairs that led down into darkness. "Come on," he said. "Let me show you something impossible." Hana followed him down the stairs. They descended deep into the asteroid, far below the scrapyard. Emergency lights flickered on as they walked, showing smooth walls that had been carved with precision tools. The stairs ended at a heavy door. June placed his eye against a scanner, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Hana stepped inside and gasped. The room was enormous, much larger than should have been possible. Machines hummed quietly along the walls. Workbenches held devices that combined technology from a dozen different species. Energy flowed through transparent tubes in patterns she had never seen before. "How is this possible?" she whispered. 3 years of very careful digging," June replied, "and some creative engineering." Hana walked slowly around the laboratory. She recognized Valerian power cores connected to human computer systems. Zephyrian crystal matrices channeled energy into devices that looked almost alive. Everything was connected in ways that should not have worked. "This should not be stable," she said, pointing at a fusion reactor that was somehow running on Valerian energy principles. "These systems are not compatible." "That is what everyone believes," June said. "But humans see things differently. We do not worry about what should work. We try things until they do work." He showed her machine after machine. Each one combined technologies in ways that broke every rule she had learned about engineering. But they all worked perfectly. "Why are you showing me this?" Hana asked. "Because I need help understanding Valerian energy theory. I can make these machines work, but I do not always understand why they work. And because you need better disguises." June led her to another workbench. This one held bioscanners and medical equipment. "Your biopaint is good, but not perfect. Imperial scanners are getting better. Soon they will see through it." He picked up a small device. "But I think I can help." The device projected a hologram of Hana's real body. Her blue skin and 4 arms were clearly visible. "How did you get this?" she asked. "I scan everyone who works in the scrapyard. It helps me understand different species." June adjusted controls on the device. "But look at this." The hologram changed. Now it showed Hana as she appeared with her disguise. But there were red marks showing where the biopaint was too thin or where her hidden arms created unusual bulges. "I can fix these problems," June said. "But I need you to explain how Valerian bodies really work." For the next 2 hours, they worked together. Hana explained the theory behind Valerian biology and energy systems. June showed her practical applications she had never imagined. "Your people think in very straight lines," June observed as he adjusted a bioprojector. "You perfect one approach and use it forever. Humans try many approaches and mix them together." "That sounds chaotic," Hana replied. "It is, but chaos can be very useful." They were interrupted by alarms from the upper level. June quickly checked his security monitors. 3 figures in dark clothing were walking through the scrapyard with handheld scanners. "Imperial investigators," Hana breathed. "Not soldiers. These are much more dangerous." "What do they want?" "They must have detected unusual energy readings, probably from your experiments." June began shutting down systems throughout the laboratory. "How long do we have?" "Not long. Investigators are very thorough." They climbed back to the upper level. June quickly made his workshop look messy and normal again. Hana helped him scatter broken parts around and turn on old machines that would mask any remaining energy signatures. The investigators arrived just as they finished. The leader was tall and thin, with the pale skin of someone who spent most of their time indoors studying data. "We detected unusual energy patterns from this area," the investigator said. "Show us your equipment." June played his role perfectly. He stumbled over words and acted nervous like a human who was afraid of getting in trouble. He showed them his basic tools and explained how he was trying to fix an old power generator. "These readings are beyond human technology," the second investigator said. "I know," June replied sadly. "I keep trying to understand alien machines, but they are too advanced for me. Sometimes I accidentally cause energy surges when I connect things wrong." The investigators spent an hour examining every piece of equipment. They found nothing suspicious. Everything looked exactly like a struggling human mechanic's workshop. But the lead investigator kept staring at Hana. "You are Valerian?" "Yes, sir, I work in salvage. Your energy signature seems unusual." Hana's heart pounded, but June stepped forward. "She was helping me move some heavy parts earlier. Maybe that is what your scanner detected." The investigator looked between them suspiciously. But he could find no evidence of wrongdoing. After the investigators left, Hana and June sat in silence for a long time. They will be back, Hana finally said. I know. We cannot stay here much longer. I know that too. They looked at each other, across the cluttered workshop. Two people with dangerous secrets who had somehow found each other in the vastness of space. So what do we do? June asked. We get better at hiding. Or we find a new place to hide. Or, June said slowly, we stop hiding. Hana stared at him. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it is time to fight back. The words hung in the air between them like a challenge. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Finally, Hana nodded. Show me what else you have been building down there. As they headed back toward the hidden stairs, neither of them noticed the tiny surveillance drone that had been watching from the shadows, or the figure in the distance who controlled it with a satisfied smile. The hunters were closing in, but their prey was about to become much more dangerous. 3 days passed without any sign of investigators. Hana began to think they might be safe. She was wrong. She was working alone when June appeared beside her, moving faster than she had ever seen him move. We need to leave. Now, he said urgently. What happened? I just detected 5 Imperial ships entering the system, not patrol ships. Warships. Hana felt ice in her veins. Warships meant only one thing. Someone very important wanted someone very badly. They ran toward June's workshop. Other workers stared as they passed, confused by the sudden urgency. Inside the container, June began grabbing essential equipment while Hana watched the entrance. There is something I need to tell you, Hana said as they worked. My real name is not Yuki. I know, June replied without looking up from his packing. Your Majesty. Hana spun around in shock. How did you know? I have been studying Valerian technology for 3 years. I learned about the political situation too. There was only one member of the royal family who ever cared about other species. When she disappeared, everyone assumed Prince Derek had her killed. He tried to. My guards died protecting me while I escaped. June finally looked at her directly. I am sorry for your loss. They were brave. Why did you help me if you knew who I was? Because you were not what I expected an Empress to be. You worked hard. You treated everyone with respect. You never acted like you were better than anyone else. Alarms began wailing across the scrapyard. The Imperial ships had arrived. We need to go deeper, June said. There are things I have not shown you yet. They descended past the laboratory to levels Hana had not known existed. The passages were narrow and carved roughly from the asteroid rock. How far down does this go? She asked. All the way to the other side. I have been preparing for this day for a long time. They reached a chamber filled with sleek machinery. In the center sat a small spacecraft that looked like nothing Hana had ever seen. What is that? Something I built by combining human engineering with alien technology. It should be able to outrun Imperial ships. Should? I have never actually tested it. Through the walls they could hear explosions and shouting. The Imperial forces were not being gentle in their search. June began starting the ship's systems while Hana sealed the chamber entrance behind them. Wait, she said suddenly. If you knew who I was, then you must know about the coup. About what happened to my empire. I know Prince Derek took power and blamed you for weakness. I know he has been expanding the military and attacking neutral worlds. I know he considers humans to be barely intelligent animals. Hana sat down heavily in the ship's second seat. There is more. Something I have never told anyone. The ship's engines hummed to life. They could hear drilling sounds as Imperial forces tried to break through the sealed entrance. Tell me while we fly, June said. We have about 2 minutes before they break through. The ship lifted off its landing platform and moved toward a tunnel that led up through the asteroid. I was not just progressive about other species, Hana said as they flew. I was planning to change the entire structure of the empire. No more royal families, no more species hierarchy. I wanted to create a government where the best ideas won, not the oldest bloodlines. That would have been revolutionary. It would have been necessary. The old ways were making us weak. We were so focused on maintaining superiority That we stopped learning from others. They burst out of the tunnel into space. Behind them, the asteroid exploded as Imperial ships targeted their escape route. They really want you dead, June observed as he dodged weapons fire. Darak knows that as long as I am alive, some Valarians will question his rule. He cannot risk that. The ship accelerated faster than should have been possible. Imperial ships fell behind, unable to match their speed. How are we moving so fast? Hana asked. Human approach to physics. We do not worry about theoretical limits. We just try to go faster. That is impossible. Humans do impossible things every day. They flew in silence for several minutes while June plotted a course through hyperspace. There is something I need to tell you too, he said finally. My name is not really June. What? Well, it is June, but not just June. I am Dr. June Sato, former chief engineer of the Human Colonial Defense Initiative. Now it was Hana's turn to be shocked. You are supposed to be dead. The transport accident during first contact with my people. Not an accident. Darak had our ship destroyed because our delegation was carrying proposals for technology sharing. He could not let other Valarians see that humans had valuable knowledge to offer. So you have been hiding too. For 3 years, learning everything I could about the species that tried to kill me. And now? Now I think it is time to stop hiding and start fighting back. Their ship jumped to hyperspace just as more Imperial vessels arrived. For now they were safe. Where are we going? Hana asked. The Outer Rim territories. There are rumors of resistance groups operating there. Resistance against Darak? Against all the old empires that think might makes right. Species that are tired of being told they are inferior. Hana leaned back in her seat. Do you think we can actually make a difference? Just the two of us against the entire Imperial fleet? We are not just two people anymore. We represent something new. A combination of royal authority and human innovation. Traditional knowledge and creative thinking. That sounds very optimistic. Humans are naturally optimistic. It is how we survive impossible situations. The ship flew through hyperspace toward an uncertain future. Behind them, Prince Darak was probably very angry that his prey had escaped. Again. June, Hana said after a while. Yes? When we reach the Outer Rim, what exactly do you plan to do? Find allies, build better weapons, show the galaxy that the old ways do not have to be the only ways. And if we fail? Then we fail trying to make things better. That is more than most people can say. Hana smiled for the first time in days. You know, for a dead engineer, you are quite inspiring. For a dead Empress, you are pretty practical. Their laughter echoed through the ship as they flew toward rebellion, revolution, and the slim hope of changing a galaxy that had forgotten how to change itself. In Imperial space, Prince Darak stared at the reports of their escape with cold fury. His best hunters had failed. His prey had vanished into the darkness between stars. But he was patient. He had been hunting his cousin for 3 years. He could wait a little longer. The game was not over yet. The Outer Rim was not what Hana had expected. Instead of empty space and scattered outposts, they found a bustling network of hidden bases and mobile fleets. Refugees from a dozen worlds had gathered here, all fleeing from Darak's expanding empire. Their ship was intercepted by 3 patrol vessels as soon as they dropped out of hyperspace. Unknown vessel, identify yourself, came a voice over the communication system. June responded calmly. This is the independent ship Phoenix. We are seeking sanctuary. Phoenix? There was a long pause. June Sato, is that really you? June and Hana looked at each other in surprise. Yes, this is June Sato. Who is this? Commander Mira Kim of the Free Fleet. We have been looking for you for 3 years. 20 minutes later, their ship was docked inside a massive space station, hidden in an asteroid field. Hana was amazed at what she saw. Humans worked alongside Zephyrians, Keltans, and even some Valarians. Everyone seemed focused on the same goal. Commander Mira met them at the docking bay. She was a small woman with graying hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Dr. Sato, she said, shaking June's hand. Earth has been wondering what happened to you. Earth knows I am alive. We faked your death to protect you. Your research was too valuable to let the Empire know they had failed to kill you. Mira's eyes shifted to Hana. And you must be the mysterious Valerian who has been helping him. Hana hesitated. She had been hiding her identity for so long that revealing it felt dangerous. It is all right, June said quietly. They can be trusted. I am Empress Hana, she said simply. Every person in the docking bay stopped what they were doing. The silence stretched for long seconds. Finally, Commander, Mira smiled. Well, this changes everything. Over the next few hours, Mira showed them around the station. What Hana saw amazed her. The rebels had built something incredible. Technologies from different species were combined in ways that made each one stronger. How did you do all this? Hana asked as they walked through a workshop where humans and aliens worked side by side. Human philosophy, Mira replied. We believe that cooperation makes everyone stronger. When species work together instead of competing, amazing things happen. They stopped at a display showing fleet compositions. Hana was shocked to see the size of the rebel forces. This is impossible. How did you gather so many ships without the Empire detecting you? We did not gather them. We built them. Mira led them to another section of the station. Here, assembly lines produced new spacecraft at an incredible rate. But these were not like any ships Hana had ever seen. Traditional shipbuilding takes years, Mira explained. Human shipbuilding takes weeks. We use modular designs that can be adapted for any purpose. A worker approached them carrying a tablet. Commander, the new batch of hybrid engines is ready for testing. Hybrid engines? Hana asked. Human engineering combined with alien power sources, June said, examining the data. This is brilliant. You are getting twice the efficiency of pure alien technology. Your research made it possible, Mira replied. The technology you sent back to Earth before your supposed death helped us develop all of this. They continued. The tour, visiting laboratories, training centers, and communication hubs. Everywhere Hana looked, she saw the same pattern. Humans taking the best ideas from each species and combining them into something new and better. I need to understand. Something, Hana said when they finally sat down in Mira's office. Why are humans doing this? What do you gain by helping other species rebel against their governments? Mira leaned back in her chair. Because those governments consider us inferior. They think we are too primitive to have valuable ideas. Some of them want to conquer Earth and turn humans into slaves. So this is about human survival. It started that way, but it became about something bigger. Mira gestured toward the window that showed the busy station. Look at what happens when species work together as equals. Look at what we can build. Darak will never accept this, Hana said. He believes that mixing with other species makes you weaker. Then we will have to prove him wrong. That evening, June and Hana attended a strategy meeting with rebel leaders from several species. The diversity amazed Hana. Zephyrians with their crystal-based technology sat next to Keltons with their biological computers. Humans facilitated discussions between groups that had been enemies for centuries. The Imperial fleet has been growing, reported a Valerian captain who had defected from Darak's forces. New ships are being built every month, but they are using old designs with minor improvements. That is their weakness, said a human engineer. They perfect existing technology instead of creating new technology. What do you propose? Asked the Zephyrian representative. June stood up and activated a holographic display. We hit them with something they have never seen before. A coordinated strike using hybrid technology and human tactics. The display showed the Imperial capital world, heavily defended by traditional fleet formations. This is suicide, the Valerian captain said. The capital defenses are impenetrable. Only if you attack them the traditional way, Hana said, studying the display. But what if we do not attack the defenses at all? What do you mean? Mira asked. Darak holds power through fear and the appearance of strength. What if we expose the truth instead of fighting his fleets? June began modifying the holographic display. A broadcast system. We could transmit evidence of his illegal coup to every world in the Empire simultaneously. The Imperial communication network is heavily encrypted, the Zephyrian pointed out. But I know the encryption codes, Hana said quietly. I helped design the system when I was Empress. Excitement began building in the room as they developed the plan. Instead of a military assault, they would launch an information attack. Show every Valerian citizen that their Empress was alive and that Derek was a usurper. We would need to get close to the capital world, Mira said. Close enough to override the communication satellites. Leave that to me, June replied. I have been building some very special ships. They worked through the night refining the plan. By morning, they had something that might actually work. It was dangerous and required precise timing, but it was possible. How soon can we be ready? Hana asked. 2 weeks, Mira replied. Maybe less if we push the construction schedules. Then we do this in 2 weeks. As the meeting broke up, Hana found herself standing alone with June on an observation deck. Do you think this will work? She asked. I think we have to try. The alternative is letting fear and prejudice rule the galaxy forever. And if we fail, then we fail together. And maybe someone else will learn from our mistakes and succeed where we could not. Hana looked out at the busy station. Humans and aliens worked together with a harmony she had never thought possible. They were building something new, something that had never existed before. You know, she said, 3 months ago I thought my life was over. I was just trying to survive one more day. And now? Now I think we might actually change the galaxy. June smiled. Humans are very good at changing things that everyone says cannot be changed. I am beginning to understand that. In the distance, new ships were taking shape in the construction bays, ships that combined the best ideas from multiple species, ships that represented hope for a different kind of future. The revolution was about to begin. 2 weeks later, the rebel fleet gathered at the edge of Imperial space. 50 ships of various sizes hung in the darkness, their crews preparing for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Hana stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the final preparations. The ship itself was a marvel of human-alien cooperation. Valerian energy systems powered human computers, while Zephyrian crystal matrices amplified the signal strength. All ships report ready, Commander Mira announced. From her command station, June was at the technical console, monitoring the specialized equipment they would need for the mission. His cloaking system had been installed on every ship in the fleet. Cloaking field generators are operating at full power, he reported. We should be invisible to Imperial sensors until we decloak. How close do we need to get? Hana asked. Within 10,000 kilometers of the capital world. Close enough to override the satellite network, but far enough to avoid the heaviest defenses. The plan was simple in concept, but incredibly difficult to execute. The rebel fleet would use June's cloaking technology to approach the capital world undetected. Once in position, they would simultaneously decloak and broadcast Hana's message to every communication device in the Empire. Remember, Hana said, over the fleet communication system, we are not here to destroy anything, we are here to tell the truth. Truth can be more dangerous than weapons, replied Captain Yuki, the Valerian defector who now commanded one of their escort ships. That is what we are counting on, Hana said. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. During the 3-hour journey to the capital system, Hana reviewed her prepared message one final time. It contained evidence of Darak's illegal coup, recordings of his orders to attack neutral worlds, and proof that she was still alive. More importantly, it contained her vision for a new kind of empire. One based on cooperation instead of domination, one where the best ideas mattered more than ancient bloodlines. You know this will start a civil war, June said as they reviewed the technical details one last time. The civil war already started when Darak seized power, Hana replied. We are just making sure everyone knows about it. They dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the capital system. Immediately, every sensor on every ship began analyzing the Imperial defenses. This is incredible, breathed the sensor operator. There are over 200 Imperial ships in defensive positions around the capital world. More than we expected, Mira noted grimly. But they are arranged in traditional formations, June observed, studying the tactical display. They expect a conventional attack. The rebel fleet began moving slowly through the outer system, their cloaking fields hiding them from Imperial sensors. It would take 2 hours to reach their target position. During those 2 hours, Imperial ships passed within kilometers of the rebel fleet without detecting them. The cloaking technology was working perfectly. Approaching target position, the navigation officer announced. All ships, prepare for decloak, Mira ordered. Hana felt her heart pounding. In a few minutes, they would either change the course of galactic history or die trying. Signal transmission ready, June reported. Broadcasting equipment is charged and locked onto all Imperial communication satellites. Weapons systems online, added the tactical officer, just in case. Remember, we fight only if attacked, Hana said. Our weapon is truth, not violence. All ships in position, Mira announced. Hana took a deep breath. Begin transmission. Decloak all ships. 50 rebel ships suddenly appeared in space around the capital world. Alarms began wailing throughout the Imperial fleet as commanders tried to understand what was happening. At the same instant, Hana's message began broadcasting on every communication channel in the Empire. Citizens of the Valerian Empire, her voice echoed across hundreds of worlds simultaneously. This is your Empress, Hana. I am alive, and I am here to tell you the truth about the last 3 years. On the capital world below, Prince Darak was in his throne room when the broadcast began. He watched in growing fury as his cousin's face appeared on every screen in the palace. All Imperial ships attack the rebel fleet immediately, he ordered. But something unexpected happened. Some Imperial ships began moving to attack, but others held their positions. Confusion spread through the Imperial ranks as captains tried to decide what to do. The Imperial fleet is not responding uniformly, reported the rebel tactical officer. Some ships are advancing, but others are withdrawing. The broadcast is working, June said excitedly. Look at the communication traffic. Messages are flying between Imperial ships faster than I have ever seen. On screen, Hana continued her message. She showed evidence of Darak's crimes, explained his illegal seizure of power, and outlined her vision for a reformed empire. The old ways have made us weak, she said. While we focused on maintaining superiority over other species, those species learned to work together. They created technologies and societies that surpass our ancient achievements. Imperial ships began engaging the rebel fleet, but not all of them. The Imperial formation was breaking apart as individual captains made their own decisions about which side to support. 15 Imperial ships have broken formation, reported Captain Yuki. They are moving away from the capital world. More defections every minute, added Mira. The Imperial fleet is in chaos. But not all Imperials were confused. The ships, loyal to Darak, began a coordinated attack on the rebel fleet. Energy weapons lit up space as the battle began. Return fire only against ships that attack us, Hana ordered. Do not shoot at ships that are withdrawing. The rebel ships fought with incredible coordination. Human tactics combined with alien technology created combinations that the Imperial forces had never encountered. Their attack patterns are completely unpredictable, complained an Imperial commander over an intercepted communication. These are not standard rebel tactics. That is because we are not standard rebels, June replied, smiling as he adjusted their shield frequencies to counter Imperial weapons. The battle raged around the capital world for 3 hours. More Imperial ships defected as the fighting continued, and Hana's message spread throughout the Empire. Finally, Prince Darak himself appeared on the communication channels. All Imperial forces fall back to defensive positions around the palace, he ordered. Prepare for planetary bombardment of rebel positions. He is going to destroy his own capital to stop us, Hana realized. Not if we stop him first, June replied. How? We take his flagship. It was an insane idea. The Imperial flagship was the largest and most heavily armed ship in the galaxy, but it was also where Darak was hiding. All ships form up on the flagship, Mira ordered. We are going to board that monster. This is suicide, Captain Yuki protested. Maybe, Hana replied. But if we succeed, we end this war before it destroys half the galaxy. The rebel fleet converged on the massive Imperial flagship. Point defense. Systems filled space with energy fire as the rebels fought their way through the defensive perimeter. 3 rebel ships were destroyed in the assault, but the rest reached the flagship's docking bays. Boarding parties prepare for insertion, Mira announced. Hana suited up in combat armor that combined Valerian strength enhancement with human mobility systems. Jun equipped himself with a portable hacking kit that could interface with any computer system in the Empire. Ready? He asked. No, Hana replied. But let us go anyway. They boarded the Imperial flagship along with 50 rebel Marines from various species. The fighting was brutal as they pushed through corridors filled with loyal Imperial guards. But they fought with the desperation of people who knew that failure meant the death of everything they believed in. Finally, they reached the throne room, where Prince Darek waited with his elite guard. Hello, cousin, Darek said as they entered. I was wondering when you would finally show yourself. Hello, Darek. Ready to surrender? Surrender? Darek laughed. Look around you. My fleet still outnumbers yours. My empire still spans half the galaxy. Your empire is crumbling. Half your ships have already defected. Then I will build a new empire from the ashes of this one. The final confrontation was about to begin. 6 months after the battle for the capital world, Empress Hana stood before the Grand Assembly on the restored throne world. But this was not the same throne room where Valerian emperors had ruled for thousands of years. The old symbols of royal supremacy had been replaced with something new. Representatives from dozens of species sat in the assembly hall. Humans worked alongside Valerians. Zephyrians debated policy with Keltons. For the first time in galactic history, different species were governing together as equals. The reconstruction progress reports show remarkable success, announced Dr. Jun Sato from his position as Chief Technology Advisor. 17 worlds have already implemented the new cooperative government structure. And the resistance movements? Asked Commander Mira, now serving as defense coordinator. Decreasing every month, replied Captain Yuki. Most opposition comes from former Imperial officers who cannot adapt to the new system. Hana listened to the reports with mixed feelings. They had won the war against Darek, but winning the peace was proving even more difficult. The final confrontation with her cousin had ended differently than anyone expected. When Darek realized his fleet was deserting him and his empire was collapsing, he had tried to activate the flagship's self-destruct system to kill everyone aboard. But Jun had anticipated this possibility. Working with Hana, they had reprogrammed the self-destruct system to instead broadcast their final message to the entire galaxy. Instead of an explosion, Darek's desperate act had become the moment when every species in known space learned that cooperation was possible. Darek himself was now imprisoned but not executed. Hana had refused to kill her cousin, choosing instead to prove that the new empire could show mercy even to its enemies. Your Majesty, said the Zephyrian ambassador, we have received concerning reports from the outer systems. Some worlds are struggling to implement the new technologies. This was the challenge Hana had expected. Changing an entire galaxy's way of thinking was not something that happened overnight. What kind of struggles? Jun asked, leaning forward, in his chair. The traditional Valerian colonies cannot understand how to work with other species. They have spent centuries believing they were superior. And the human colonies are having the opposite problem, added Mira. They are so eager to help everyone that they are overwhelming their new partners. Hana stood up and walked to the large window that overlooked the capital city. Below, she could see the changes they had brought about. Humans and aliens worked together on construction projects. Mixed crews operated transport systems. Children from different species played together in parks that had once been restricted by race. Change is never easy, she said without turning around. My people spent 3,000 years perfecting the art of staying the same. Humans have spent their entire history perfecting the art of change. So what do we do? Asked the Kelton representative. Learn from each other. The Valerians teach patience and careful planning. Humans teach flexibility and innovation. Together, we find solutions that neither could discover alone. June joined her at the window. There is something else we need to discuss. The quantum plague. Everyone in the room became quiet. The quantum plague was a phenomenon that had begun appearing 3 weeks ago. Hyperspace routes were becoming unstable, cutting off communication and travel between star systems. How bad is it? Hannah asked. 17 systems are now completely isolated. If we cannot find a solution, interstellar civilization will collapse within a year. What do our scientists think is causing it? That is the problem. Valerian scientists have one theory. Human scientists have a completely different theory. Zephyrian scientists have a third theory. Everyone is working separately. Hannah turned back to the assembly. Then we bring them together, all of them, every species, every theory, every approach. Your Majesty, the Valerian admiral protested. Combining different scientific approaches could create chaos. Our methods are precise and tested over centuries. And human methods are chaotic but creative, June replied. Maybe we need both. The Zephyrians work with crystal-based computing that processes information in ways we barely understand, added the Zephyrian ambassador. Our approaches might not be compatible. Then we find ways to make them compatible, Hannah said firmly. That is what we do now. We take the best from each approach and create something new. Over the next month, scientists from across the galaxy gathered on the capital world. The largest research facility ever built became a center of unprecedented cooperation. Hannah visited the facility every day, watching as barriers between species slowly broke down. Valerian theoretical physicists worked with human experimental engineers. Zephyrian crystal computers processed data in ways that complemented Kelton biological systems. It is working, June reported after 2 weeks of joint research. The quantum plague is not one phenomenon. It is 3 different problems that are interacting with each other. Can we fix it? Separately, no single species could solve this, but together, he smiled. Together, we think we have found an answer. The solution required technology from all 4 major species: Valerian energy manipulation, human adaptive engineering, Zephyrian crystal matrices, and Kelton biological, computers all working in perfect harmony. It took another month to build the devices needed to repair the damaged hyperspace routes. When they activated the first quantum stabilizer, the results were immediate. Cut-off star systems suddenly reappeared on communication networks. The plague is retreating, reported the lead scientist, a human woman named Dr. Sarah Chen. Hyperspace is stabilizing faster than our models predicted. Within 6 months, every affected system had been reconnected. The quantum plague was completely eliminated. But more importantly, the crisis had proved something that critics of the new empire had doubted. Cooperation between species was not just idealistic dreaming. It was practically necessary for survival. The old empire would have collapsed if faced with this crisis, June observed as they watched the final quantum stabilizer come online. No single species had the knowledge to solve it. And now? Hannah asked. Now we know that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. 1 year after the battle that had changed everything, Hannah stood in the same throne room where her ancestors had ruled, through fear and superiority. But everything was different now. The throne itself had been replaced with a circular council chamber where representatives from all species met as equals. The old symbols of Valerian supremacy had been replaced with new symbols representing unity and cooperation. The annual progress reports are remarkable, Mira announced to the assembled delegates. Crime rates down on 90% of member worlds. Scientific advancement proceeding faster than ever recorded in galactic history. Economic prosperity reaching levels never before achieved. And the resistance movements? Asked Captain Yuki. Almost completely eliminated. Most former rebels have joined local governments or found productive roles in the new society. Hannah listened to the reports with satisfaction. They had not just defeated Darek's empire. They had built something better to replace it. There is one more thing, June said, standing up with a small device in his hands. I've been working on something special. He activated the device, and a holographic display filled the center of the chamber. It showed the entire galaxy, with thousands of star systems connected by trade routes and communication networks. "This is what we have built together," he said. "Not a Valerian empire or a human federation, but something entirely new. A galactic community where every species contributes their strengths and everyone benefits from the results." "What do we call it?" asked the Zephyrian ambassador. Hannah thought for a moment. "We call it home." Later that evening, Hannah and June walked together through the palace gardens. The paths were filled with beings from across the galaxy, all living and working together in harmony. "Do you ever miss the old days?" June asked. "When you were just a mechanic and I was just a salvage worker?" "Sometimes," Hannah admitted. "Life was simpler then, but it was also smaller. And now we get to wake up every day and help build the future. How many people can say that?" They stopped beside a fountain where children from 6 different species were playing together. The youngsters showed no signs of the prejudices their parents had grown up with. To them, diversity was normal. "You know what the most remarkable thing is?" June said, watching the children play. "What? 3 years ago you were an Empress in hiding and I was a mechanic studying in the shadows. We were both alone, both afraid, both convinced our lives were over. And now we changed the galaxy." Hannah laughed. "You make it sound easy." "Maybe. It was not easy, but it was simple. We just had to stop hiding and start working together." "Is that your philosophy for everything?" "It is my philosophy for everything that matters." As they walked back toward the palace, neither of them noticed the small memorial garden they passed. It honored those who had died, fighting for the dream of a better galaxy. Among the names carved in stone were Hannah's loyal guards who had died, protecting her during the original coup. But there were also new names. Scientists who had given their lives fighting the quantum plague. Soldiers who had died in the battle for truth. Citizens from dozens of worlds who had sacrificed everything for the chance to build something better.